You want to know why I have a bug up my ass about the left more than I used to? It's like this. There's an ugliness they never used to have. The liberals I grew up respecting, none of them are like this. Democrats have become like a royal family that, because of so much, has unfortunately had children who are rejected. I watched the evolution of both these guys. This didn't happen overnight. In 2022, before he owned Twitter, Elon tweeted this chart depicting how he felt about the liberal side having shifted so much that it left a basically liberal centrist like him now labeled a conservative.
Maher has reached his breaking point with the woke political movement he once stood alongside, and he has repeatedly voiced his frustration in public.
I related to the kind of mean girl you get from the cool kids in Wokeville when you're perceived that way. They tried real hard to cancel Rogan a few years ago, and when Elon hosted Saturday Night Live in 2021, well before he was a Trumper, some of the cast members gave him the cold shoulder for the sin of being rich. You think people don't remember when you do this to them? That it's not going to have blowback?
He even took a risk by predicting that Kamala Harris would lose, saying she would be pulled down by the most extreme side of her own party. In the end, that's exactly how he believed it played out. So, did the left take that as a warning? Not at all. Instead, they only became more committed to their position. Now, Maher seems closer than ever to reaching a complete breaking point. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, and let's look at how he ended up here and whether he's really getting ready to walk away.
What good is liberalism if you don't win elections? Last week, Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton said, "I have 2 little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a formerly male athlete. But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that." Yes, there's the problem in a nutshell. Because Congressman Moulton sounds reasonable to me, but his campaign manager immediately resigned in protest. Let me make this as plain as I can to the smart people. The campaign manager who resigned, yeah, let that person go.
Bill Maher seems truly exhausted by what he views as his party's fringe wing, seizing control and steering everything way off track. He's argued for more than 10 years now that a loud, extremely online minority has somehow taken over as the leading voice, tuning out anyone who wants a calmer, steadier approach. Time and again, he's called out how this group has shoved culturally charged ideas straight into the mainstream conversation. Things like the term Latinx, plus a full embrace of identity politics as the main strategy. As he tells it, that move didn't strengthen the party at all. Instead, it drove everyday voters away. What began as a push toward greater inclusion has, in his view, turned into messaging that feels disconnected from real life. The pushback has been growing, and the party either didn't notice or simply ignored it. Maher thinks that disconnect between the message and the voters is what fueled the harsh defeat in the 2024 election, which raises a bigger question about whether the party truly still understands the people it says it speaks for. Still, he isn't done talking, and that's exactly where things really start to fall apart.
Try making too woke be a cancelable offense. It's important for America to have a center-left party, and for that party to be competitive. And a good first step toward that goal would be to make the voters not want to punch you in the face. I will conclude by saying the reason I'm so mad at the Democrats is because as a voter, the issues that were important to me were democracy and the environment. And now, there's no one to champion or defend either of them because you, with your aggressively anti-common sense agenda and exclusionary attitude, blew it.
For Bill Maher, this is really what it all boils down to. He's becoming more and more sure that the party he used to support has stopped making everyday Americans its top priority. As he sees it, focus has shifted away from core concerns like the economy, safety, and how expensive life has gotten, and moved instead toward pleasing a loud, extremely online activist group. He claims party leaders now care more about avoiding pushback from that group than solving actual real-world problems. Maher often brings up what he considers clear examples: non-stop arguments over policing language and constantly changing terms or policies that seem driven by social media pressure instead of what most people actually want. He also criticizes moments where, in his opinion, Officials seem willing to brush aside scientific facts or plain common sense just to keep pace with activist expectations. To him, all of this points to something deeper, a willingness to twist reality to please a small but vocal group, even at the risk of losing everyday voters along the way.
You, with your aggressively anti-common sense agenda and exclusionary attitude, blew it. You lost everything: House, Senate, White House, Supreme Court, and left us completely unprotected and ready to be violated.
For Bill Maher, it's really pretty simple. He believes the left stopped representing regular people and started following its own ideological instincts instead. He argues those instincts often felt out of touch, and when they turned into actual policy, they sometimes made problems worse rather than better. Maher has criticized what he sees as a growing habit of ranking identity above merit, where how something looks can matter more than real skill or experience. He's brought up examples like hiring mandates focused on diversity within public institutions, corporate leadership goals tied to race or gender, and continuing battles over college admissions rules that factor in identity in certain places. He's also raised concerns about picking officials based more on representation than actual track record. Going forward, he warns, this approach risks putting the wrong people into important positions, hurting performance and public trust, while building resentment among voters who feel left out. But this next clip adds a twist.
Democrats have been having a lot of donor retreats lately where liberal strategists hold ideathons, where they try to figure out why they keep losing elections. You know, apart from using words like ideathon. And now one idea that's getting a lot of attention is the Dems need to find their Joe Rogan, a liberal Joe Rogan, because that's why Kamala lost. Republicans have a podcast. Okay, maybe. Or you could consider this. Instead of conjuring up a new Joe Rogan, ask yourself why you lost the old one. Because he used to be on your side. He smokes pot on the air. I don't think he's that much of a far-right ideologue.
Even people who've long supported the left, like Bill Maher, can't ignore anymore that it's bleeding important voices. He says a major cause is its unwillingness to stop bending toward its most extreme edge. People like Joe Rogan, who used to lean loosely left, have moved closer to the middle, calling out what they view as growing intolerance and rigid thinking spreading through big parts of the movement. What once felt like a coalition built around honest debate now looks, in his opinion, more like a purity test, where even a small disagreement can get you branded or shut out. Then there's the irony on top of it. Even well-known progressives like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have started distancing themselves from the word woke, aware of just how politically damaging it's become. That fact alone says a lot. When the same people who helped make that language popular start backing away from it, it doesn't look like growth. It looks more like cleanup after things went too far.
They tried real hard to cancel Rogan a few years ago. And when Elon hosted Saturday Night Live in 2021, well before he was a Trumper, some of the cast members gave him the cold shoulder for the sin of being rich. Do you think people don't remember when you do this to them? That it's not going to have blowback?
Here, Bill Maher describes how quickly things turned against him once he started challenging the left's harder line positions. According to him, the change happened almost instantly. As soon as he spoke out against woke orthodoxy, the industry's warmth toward him cooled right away. The compliments stopped coming, award nods vanished, and the message came through loud and clear. Fall in line or get left behind. He doesn't see this as just something that happened to him personally. He views it as part of a bigger pattern. Take Joe Rogan, who faced intense backlash and coordinated pressure over controversial episodes, with critics demanding he be removed from platforms entirely. Then there's Elon Musk, who Maher says became a target for pushing back against popular narratives, sparking conflicts that eventually changed his whole relationship with Twitter, well before he ended up buying the platform. In his view, none of these moments happen by accident. They reveal a larger culture that punishes disagreement instead of actually engaging with it.
Because that's how politics works these days. One side gets elected precisely because the other side was just in power and pushed their agenda way too far and drove people in the opposite direction. The pendulum swings back and forth with people not voting for anything, but just to get rid of the latest extremist assholes who tried to remake America in their image instead of just governing.
And here's where Bill Maher breaks down what he believes is really driving the party's downfall. Rather than staying focused on actual governing, he says Democrats got wrapped up in remaking the country to fit their own ideological vision. As he sees it, the priority shifted away from fixing real problems and toward reshaping culture itself, pushing big social changes that plenty of voters never wanted or even fully understood. The pushback, he notes, wasn't quiet at all. It showed up clearly at the ballot box. But the damage didn't stop with lost elections. According to him, the party has also been losing respect and influence as well-known supporters of the Democratic National Committee start pulling back or leaving entirely. That's the real warning sign in his eyes. When both everyday voters and major allies start walking away at the same time, it's more than just a rough patch. It signals a much deeper identity crisis. So what's the solution? Let's hear Maher explain it himself.
If you want to win my vote, don't give me the ick. You know what the ick is, right? It's a term mostly used in the dating world to describe that moment when one of the people, usually the man, does something so icky that the woman cannot forgive it or forget it. Like sending a pic or being mean to the waitress, paying for dinner with a coupon.
Bill Maher hasn't completely walked away from the left, even though moments like this might suggest otherwise. Still, if the party wants to hold on to him, there's real work ahead. And he's not alone in this. There's a growing number of voters and commentators who feel more and more cut off, driven away by what they view as overreach and rigid thinking. Maher has identified as a liberal for most of his life, so bringing him back isn't out of reach. But it won't happen by itself. He believes it would take a real, intentional shift, starting with pulling back on the more extreme culture-driven priorities that he thinks alienate mainstream voters. That means moving away from what he calls performative politics and returning to practical, hands-on governing. Just as important, he says the party needs to rein in the power of its fringe elements and rebuild a wider, more grounded identity, one that reaches beyond just social media.
Cheryl Hines, who Larry David was quoted as describing as the best person I've ever met, the one person in Hollywood who doesn't have a single enemy. Well, now she does. Because she didn't throw her husband under the bus when her husband made a decision about something which she's made plain she disagrees with, but that didn't satisfy the obnoxious posers on the aforementioned far left. Thousands tweet screamed at Cheryl things like, "How do you live with yourself? Do better. I can't even enjoy the episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm with you in them anymore. It's no wonder Larry divorced you." Yeah, that's a character on TV, but okay.
Bill Maher then turns his focus to what he considers one of the most damaging traits on the far left: cancel culture. To him, it goes beyond simple criticism or healthy debate. It's about forcing everyone to think the same way. Step even slightly out of line, and you risk becoming a target, getting shamed publicly, and facing pressure until your platform, partnerships, or reputation start falling apart. Maher believes this kind of atmosphere leaves zero room for nuance, personal growth, or genuine disagreement. Instead, it creates constant anxiety, where people always feel one wrong move away from getting piled on. He points to comedians, commentators, and public figures who faced intense backlash online just for sharing unpopular opinions or asking uncomfortable questions. For Maher, that kind of intolerance is toxic. And ironically, it undermines the same values of open conversation and free speech that the left used to champion.
The tweet that got the most attention was from actor Bradley Whitford, who wrote, "Hey, Cheryl Hines, way to stay silent while your lunatic husband throws his support behind the adjudicated who brags about stripping women of their fundamental rights. Gutsy. Great example for the kids, profile and courage." Well, you know what I think is not gutsy? Mansplaining to a woman, but of course not to her face. How she should sacrifice her marriage. Also, you could read something on Twitter that met with your approval. You want to know why I have a bug up my about the left more than I used to. It's like this. There's an ugliness they never used to have. The liberals I grew up respecting, none of them are like this. Going after the wife, even the mafia doesn't do that.
And that's precisely why so many disenchanted, left-leaning voices have decided to walk away. For Maher and others like him, the real problem isn't disagreement itself. It's how intense and widespread the backlash gets. Once someone's singled out, it can turn into endless scrutiny, online harassment, and serious professional fallout. But according to him, it frequently doesn't stop there. He claims the far left has, at times, gone even further, pulling in spouses, family members, and close associates of the people they're targeting. What begins as a political disagreement can turn into something that feels much more personal and punishing, creating an atmosphere where fear and caution take the place of honest debate. Maher views this as deeply damaging, pushing away moderates while also wearing down trust inside the movement itself. For critics like him, it all becomes so draining that stepping back starts to feel like the only real escape from getting caught in the fallout. And with that, the conversation wraps up.